Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Barbara and today we're going to be going over what holds each sign back in life. So it's going to be based on my own observations of each of the signs. So as usual, you guys can take what resonates, leave behind what does not. Maybe at some point in the future I'll think of some more information, but at this point in time it is based on everything that I have gathered thus far. Also, this is going to resonate, let's say if you have an Aries stellium, or maybe let's say you're Scorpio dominant, Libra dominant, or maybe you really resonate with one of the signs or multiple energies in your natal chart. So you guys can check out whichever sign resonates with you guys the most. It's not just going to be the sun sign, although if that's the sign that resonates with you guys the most, you guys can base it off of that as well. So let's go ahead and jump into it, starting with an Aries. So what could potentially hold an Aries back in life? I mean, the Aries energy can be very, very individualistic. Like they can be very much reliant on the self, very much, independent and wanting to do everything, yes, their own way, but also sometimes feeling like they can't really count on anybody, or like they have to do everything for themselves. They really struggle sometimes to even ask for help. So this could energetically hold the Aries energy back, because sometimes you need a team, for example. Sometimes it might be easier if somebody could assist you guys as well. But this energy is very much used to doing things on their own for themselves and feeling like they can't really count on people. So that could be something that holds the energy back. Now the thing is, this can definitely be a positive trait, but the whole reason this energy could hold the Aries individual back is because of the fact that it could take a lot of time, for example, to do everything for yourselves versus delegating the task to other people so you guys could expend your energy in other ways. So that could be one thing that holds the Aries energy back. Now another thing that could hold the Aries individual back as well could also be their anger, their conflict, their explosiveness, their impulsivity as well. So when I say their conflict, it's going to be how they handle conflict and how they go about when it comes to conflict resolution and conflict management. So Aries as an energy, of course, it is ruled by Mars, so conflict is always going to be around an Aries person. I find a lot of the time Aries bounces off of Libra, so especially if they feel like something is not fair or there isn't the justice energy in the situation, they might explode. They might say right away what's on their mind. They might, say certain things and like get really, really angry in the moment. And it's like sometimes I find a lot of the time actually Aries tends to regret what they have perhaps said or what they have perhaps expressed in that particular moment, which is so interesting because if we look at the Mars rulership of Scorpio, Scorpio is all about emotional control. So ultimately the Aries individual is meant to master this energy of not reacting always in the moment, although that's going to be very, very challenging. Confirmation in the background, I don't know if you guys heard the bird, but it's going to be very, very challenging for an Aries individual, especially if they feel like they were served some sort of injustice in a moment, or someone was rude or something of this sort. So that could also be something that holds the Aries individual back, because they could burn a lot of bridges by doing this. They can get into a lot of arguments, and just like the whole process of explosions, lashing out, and then feeling bad afterward, it takes up a lot of energy and emotional energy. And because the energy is so reactive, I find that also because it is that first energy in the zodiac, in one way, shape, or form, they're kind of like the babies of the zodiac as well. So sometimes I look at the Aries energy like a kid learning to walk or something of that sort. So it's like by them exploding and all of these things, they do have the softness sometimes to them afterwards, okay, after they kind of think about it, and they do tend to feel bad after for being impulsive. So keep this in mind, especially when it comes to the anger and the conflict and to exploding in the moment, and try to maybe learn how to, in these moments when you guys do get that perhaps moment of explosion, to see and think about how you guys might feel afterwards, so you guys don't spend all that energy thinking about it and reflecting on it. Why did you do it? And feeling bad and all of these things. So that's something also that happens with the Aries energy. Now another thing with the Aries energy as well is their impulsivity as well. So they can be very impulsive. Once again, it's that first sign of the zodiac, it's the first house, the Aries energy, the baby, once again learning to walk. So they can be very, very impulsive, and sometimes that could also hold them back in life. I mean, all of these traits that I am mentioning, you guys can always turn it around and twist it into a positive thing. Absolutely. Sometimes it's great to be a go-getter, to be a starter, to jump into things before you're ready. Absolutely. But I mean more so impulsive in the sense where it's like sometimes biting off more than you can chew, saying yes to too many things, and then you guys are tired or burnt out after. This is kind of how this is going to hold you guys back in life if you look at it in that way as well. So it could be this. And also the other thing with the Aries energy that I wanted to mention as well is the fact that this energy is very much a starter. Okay, so they look to start things, they definitely have a hard time continuing the things that they have started, because sometimes this energy could be addicted to the high of new, to the high of novelty, to the high of starting. So they could potentially have a lot of unfinished projects, or get bored very quickly, or drop things because it's not interesting and exciting anymore. And at the end of the day, depending on what your end goal is in life, but it's really important to take a look and see how the earth plane operates on its own, and how your energy is going to fit into the earth plane's energy. And again, depending on what your end goal is, I mean, if there's something you're trying to achieve, you know, trying to adjust these traits so you can kind of go with the energies of the earth plane is really what it is. So these are a few things that could hold back an Aries in life. What could potentially hold a Taurus energy back in life? Well, Taurus overall is the energy that is ruled by Venus. It deals with money, it deals with personal finances, it can also deal with self-worth as well, and also living life through the five senses. So a few things that can hold back a Taurus energy in life, first of all, could be their belief systems connected to money. Like I've mentioned in my previous videos, a lot of the time the Taurus energy, when they have money, they are the best person to be around. But a Taurus individual who does not have money, they can be very petty, they can be very much in scarcity, they could be very much like looking at every single thing that they are spending and how much they are spending. Like this energy in the shadow, let's say, you know, they paid for something where maybe you owe them, let's say $3.55. Maybe any other energy might be like, okay, forget about it, you know, just give me a coffee the next time, or something of that sort. The Taurus individual, if they are in the shadow, keep this in mind, this is when the energy is in the shadow of itself. Let's say they are in the scarcity when it comes to money. This energy can very much go into the energy of, you owe me $3.55. Like they want the exact amount. It's not going to be the type of energy that's like, you know, you just get me next time, or forget about it, don't worry about it, or round the energy even, you know, where they're like, okay, you know, it could be $3.50. Like they're going to be down to that penny. So that is the nature of the energy overall when it is in the shadow. Once again, this could hold them back in life, because the whole concept connected to money could just be like this over focus. I mean, anytime anyone is in a scarcity of anything in their life and they really want that thing, you know, the more you focus on that thing, you're kind of sending out the energy that you don't have that thing, right? So that's the struggle overall, because it's kind of counterintuitive in terms of what they teach in the law of attraction, because in the law of attraction and manifestation and all these things, they want you to focus on that particular thing. They want you to think about it and visualize it and all of these things. But there is a fine line between thinking about it and also holding on to it and just like really like focusing on it too much, because if you're overly focused on the thing, you're operating in scarcity. You're basically saying to the universe actually that you don't have that particular thing. So keep this in mind for the Taurus energy. So that could be something that holds them back in life, because it's like there could be too much of a focus on this. You could be pushing away the goals or the dreams or the desires you guys may have when it comes to the material things and the material gain. And especially if you guys are operating in scarcity, it could really kind of have that counter effect, is really what it is. It's like the more you want it, the more you're pushing it away, basically. So that's the struggle overall with this energy when it's in the shadow. Taurus can sometimes struggle with self-worth as well, or they could tie a lot of their self-worth to their material items or the material things that they receive or the money that they make. So that could also hold you guys back in life, because it could be like a chicken and the egg situation, where it's like you guys might not put yourselves out there, for example, to get the money because you don't have it yet, or you guys want to paint a certain image but you don't have the money yet. But you know, everyone starts at zero, okay? So just keep that in mind. I mean, sometimes people incarnate into certain families and they do have these things, but everyone has to start. Let's say you guys don't have those material things you guys are looking for. Well, it's like you will have to start basically at the bottom, okay? And Taurus is very good at this, okay? In the divine version, of course, like building on all of these things, but sometimes they might not actually go after those things because they don't have them. It turns into this like chicken and the egg kind of internal paradox, I guess you can say. So that's another thing that can hold the Taurus energy back, and also again, because that's connected to the self-worth, and also of course always connected to the energy of receiving, which is ultimately connected to the feminine energy within. Another thing that I want to talk about when it comes to the Taurus energy as well is their loyalty, okay? So all of these traits, you can always turn them around and create a positive energy out of it, but of course any trait can have a positive outcome or the shadow outcome as well. So today we're looking at how this energy could potentially be holding you guys back in life. So with the Taurus energy, when it is in the shadow, okay, and it is in the shadow of being too loyal, okay, so this energy could also hold the Taurus individual back because they can become too loyal, let's say in friendships or their jobs or something that they have built, and they could have a hard time separating or parting from these things if these things no longer serve them. So I can hold you guys back in life, because the thing is, Taurus is all about slow and steady wins the race. So because they are all about slow and steady wins the race, it's like they're okay to stay at a certain place for an extended period of time. Let's say it's a job, and slowly work their way up to where it is that they are trying to go. But sometimes this energy can really operate with blinders on, okay? So they might really be focused on the goal and they might not look outside of it. So let's say another opportunity comes up or something of that sort, they might not necessarily take it because of this like unconscious loyalty that they might have, let's say to the job, or let's say it could be to friends even as well. Let's say they are people that have been around you for a longer period of time, and maybe you guys are just like not the same people anymore. Maybe you guys have grown and evolved in different directions. The Taurus energy is going to have a hard time parting from these people. The Taurus energy is very much all about stability as well. Like a lot of the time they are friends with the people they have been friends with their whole lives. There definitely is going to be a loyalty factor there, and like I mentioned, this could definitely be an amazing trait, a very good trait. I'm just talking about in those situations where it's like you're trying to get to the next phase in your life, you're trying to get to the next step in your life. Maybe the people around you are turning into haters, or maybe there's a jealousy energy taking place, or maybe they're putting doubt in your mind. Like, you know, when it gets toxic, this is what I mean. And it's like, even if a situation gets toxic, Taurus will stick around because of this like loyalty energy, and the more the time goes on, the more they become loyal. So this could be a huge struggle, okay, because it can hold you guys back from other opportunities. And the way that I see the Taurus energy a lot of the time too is, I'm not sure if you guys know anything about like the financial world. I'm sure if you have Taurus in your chart, you must, okay, but in terms of investments, there's always like the different types of risk involved investments. So there's like the very low risk types of investments, and then you have the high risk types of investments where, like, you know, the investments are very volatile and you could potentially lose all your money, but you could also potentially gain a lot of money. To me, the Taurus energy is always all about the low risk, okay, energy when it comes to anything in life. I'm kind of giving just the example of investments here, although it could actually pertain to you guys because you guys do deal with money. But the energy is, you know, about slowly climbing, keeping it safe, playing it safe, you know, a lot of the time, and that's fine. You know, they still get to where it is that they're trying to go over an extended period of time, and they're okay with this. But sometimes that could hold you guys back, especially let's say from somewhere that you guys are potentially trying to get to. And one more thing that I also wanted to say for the Taurus energy is this energy in the beginning could really struggle to get started, okay, which is so interesting. We come out of Aries, we go into Taurus. But the thing is, this energy could really struggle to get started. Sometimes it's very much like grounded. It's very much like the 4 feet on the ground. So this energy is very much about the comforts in life, feeling comfortable. The struggle is with this energy is like when they really get comfortable in a certain place or situation. I guess even relating to what I was just saying previously, okay? So they can really also get comfortable, not just loyal, but also comfortable as well. When they get really comfortable in a situation, place, you know, living situation, friendship, whatever it is, company, job, you know, it's like that comfort energy could be a struggle to get them to go, okay? Because the way that I always see the Taurus energy, because it is the 4 feet on the ground, sometimes you might really have to give them the extra push to actually get them going. But once they're going, the ball is rolling. It's just sometimes that initial energy to get them to start something, to get them to go, to get them to move, to get them to, you know, move on, or whatever it is, however it may manifest. I'm sure you guys get the idea here. So these are a few things that could take place for what could potentially hold a Taurus energy back. Next, we have the Gemini energy. So what could potentially hold a Gemini energy back? I mean, the Gemini energy is a third house. It's the energy of speaking, communicating, writing, friends, you know, going on short trips as well. Sometimes it deals with siblings, cousins. It can also deal with cars as well, okay, and sometimes tech too. So with the Gemini energy, the thing is, what could potentially hold the Gemini energy back, first and foremost, is going to be distraction, okay? This energy could have a really hard time getting focused or focusing on one thing. And that's fine. It's just like we have to understand how this airplane operates. And when I talk about being held back in life, I'm talking about like you trying to get to some sort of goal or trying to create something for yourselves, okay? And these are potentially traits that could hold you guys back. That's kind of the idea here, okay? And some of these traits could even be turned into a positive, okay, if you kind of direct the energy in that way. But in the shadow sense, yes, the Gemini energy could absolutely get distracted very easily. They're a very smart sign, very intellectual, all about the mind. But the thing is, sometimes when you're intelligent, you need a lot of things going, okay? You need a lot of things happening at the same time. Sometimes you need a lot of stimulation taking place too, okay? So it's like this energy likes to have their hands in a lot of pots. We have to look at how the airplane operates, and it is the earth signs. So the thing is, the earth signs thrive down here. It's all about sitting down, committing to something, and seeing that thing through until the end, okay? So that's important to understand. And it's like the Gemini energy can really struggle with this because of the fact that the Gemini energy, again, is very intelligent. They want to know a lot of things. They want to learn a lot of things. They want to be everywhere, okay? Sometimes they even get distracted in terms of friends. Sometimes they start something and they completely forget about it. Sometimes they just start something, it gets boring, they move on to the next thing. thing. And my suggestion, you guys obviously have the free will to do what you want, but for the Gemini energy always is try to get whatever project you guys are working on to at least 80 or 90%, okay, where you can kind of have that thing rolling in the background mindlessly before you start something new. When you start something and you kind of get to 20% and then you start something else, this is how the energy sometimes gets labeled as the jack of all trades but master of none, right? You guys kind of want to get to the level of the divine version of this energy, which is literally the jack of all trades, is really what it is. But the only way to do that is to actually sit down, commit to something, see that thing through until, again, 80 or 90%, or at least up until the level where you guys are able to have it running in the background. You've built it to that level, and then move on and start the next thing, okay? That would be my recommendation for this energy, because otherwise there's going to be a lot of unfinished projects here, a lot of things you guys have started, forgotten about, said you guys were going to do. That's the other thing with this energy too, because this energy sometimes can talk too much. It can kind of say all their plans to everybody, okay? And the thing is, there still is the metaphysical nature of this earth plane, and by saying too many things to too many people, people are going to send you vibes, whether you're aware of it or not. Sometimes the biggest haters are in the inner circle. Sometimes, you know, the people who have the most amount of jealousy and all of these things, the people who don't want to see you thrive, who don't want to see you succeed, and most of the time it actually has nothing to do with you. It's just because of their own shortcomings and their own lack of even belief in the self even, okay? Or sometimes they might even feel like they're getting abandoned or left behind, but that's their problem, not yours. But that being said, sometimes when you say everything to a lot of people, first of all, it's like if it's too many people, you have a lot of energies attaching to your energy, and then they can throw you off energetically in this way, because it's like we're telepathic. This is important to understand, and some people are completely unaware of this, but by all of us being telepathic, like people can energetically block, quote unquote, block you, or like interfere, maybe that's the better term here. People can energetically interfere with your plans by sometimes just sending you negative thoughts, or just like sometimes thinking it can energetically interfere. It's usually people who are in your inner circle that you have that cord connected to you, okay? It's not going to be like the random person on the street, okay? Because you don't have a cord to that person. It's people within your inner circle that can actually affect you the most, okay? Random people can't really, unless there's some sort of cord connected to that person. When I say cord, it usually comes out of the solar plexus, I find. And this is at this point in time, okay? Most people are not heart-centered, so it's like it's different when you have heart-to-heart cords taking place versus like solar plexus to solar plexus, or sometimes solar plexus to heart. Let's say you're the heart-centered person and the other person isn't. Anyways, I digress, okay? It's a little bit more metaphysical, but it's important to know these things, that these people could potentially throw you off your path, okay, with their thoughts, by interfering, sometimes by you sharing too much information with these people. And this is all like mindless. The Gemini energy, I feel like, can be very, very naive as well. Obviously, it depends on the rest of the energies in the natal chart, but let's say maybe you're in the earlier quadrants or something of that sort, with like the Aries, Gemini, Taurus energies, even up to Cancer too as well. You know, the energy can be overly trusting, okay? And that could also be something in the shadow down here on this earth plane, okay? When you're overly trusting, sharing everything with everybody, people might steal your ideas. There's that part of the story as well, okay? If you share them before they came into fruition, so they can energetically interfere, they can sometimes put doubt into your minds, they can also steal your ideas as well. So keep this in mind. It's going to be really, really hard, because the Gemini energy is not really an energy that can keep secrets, okay? So that could also hold you guys back in life by sharing too many things. And sometimes the energy also like says they're going to do something and then they don't do it, okay? So there's also that element to the energy as well. Sometimes it's just better not to say anything as well. Even if you think it in your mind, it's better for people around you to not be involved in your business, okay? And that's just my own opinion. Obviously, different people have different ways of doing things, but people do interfere energetically, okay? I will say that much. So that could also hold the Gemini energy back. And also, it's just the whole concept of wanting to do everything, okay? So this energy gets excited and they're like, I want to do this and I want to do this, and they want to do everything. But once again, down here on this earth plane, if you want to do everything, you're actually doing nothing, okay? So picking one thing, like I mentioned, getting that thing to 80 or 90%, and then moving on to the next thing. So these are a few things that could potentially hold a Gemini person back in life. Next, we have Cancer. So what could potentially hold a Cancer individual back in life? Well, the Cancer energy does deal with the home, the family, the mother, okay, and having a family that family feels. So out of all the signs in the zodiac, the Cancer energy is the most abandoned energy in the zodiac, okay? So just keep this in mind, because this energy incarnates with the feeling of orphan energy connected to them. So sometimes I've noticed with the Cancer energy, obviously might not be everybody, but sometimes I notice with this energy, either they incarnate feeling like the orphan, okay? So they could have incarnated from a lot of past lives where they didn't have a family for whatever reason. And when I say orphan, it doesn't have to be literally they were orphans in past lives, although it could manifest in that way, but it could just be like they felt like they didn't have a family, or, you know, for whatever reason, they felt neglected, okay? Cancer does tend to deal with neglect a lot, and especially emotional neglect. So the Cancer energy incarnates into this lifetime looking for that family feel, but also sometimes they incarnate for the first time in a lot of lifetimes where they do finally have that family feel, okay? So that's the struggle with this energy, because it's like when they finally have that family feel and they finally feel like they have fit into some sort of family unit, it could be really hard for them to part from the family, okay, or to separate from the family, okay? So it could manifest in this way, because it's like this could be absolutely a good thing, okay? It's always nice to have a family feel going on, but I'm talking about it in the shadow sense, where it's like, let's say, you know, you guys are trying to get a new job, or maybe get a new job in a different country, or maybe it's in a different city, or, you know, maybe it is abroad somewhere, or something of the sort, where you guys have to leave this family unit you guys have created, whether it's your family of origin or like the family that you guys were born into, okay, whether it's them or whether it is people that feel like family. So, you know, it could be, let's say, at work, okay, for example, it could be, let's say, the colleagues, okay, there could be this family feel, this family vibe that you guys have created at work. It's going to be really hard for this energy to separate, okay, because the Cancer energy, once again, deals with abandonment or feeling abandoned, and then they don't want to abandon the ones that they love either. But sometimes it's like, it's a struggle, because all of these things, it's like you create an ego identity through that particular thing. So sometimes separating from it, it feels like you're going through an ego death, okay? So that's the struggle sometimes, or at least that's how you guys might be able to actually part from this particular thing. If you're able to understand that you're going through an ego death, and it's fine, you guys will eventually create that vibe wherever you guys go. Let's say it's like with your colleagues or something of the sort. This is why in one of my videos, a short that I created, okay, in the recent past, I mean, by the time I post this, it might be the very, very further past, but anyways, at this point in time, it was the recent past. Basically what I was saying was, out of all of the energies, if I had to pick the energy that is most likely to end up in a gang, I'm not saying at all that you guys will end up in a gang, I'm just saying the energy out of all of the signs that is most likely to end up in a gang, or like have a hard time parting from, let's say, the gang or some sort of cult or something, where you guys created this family feel and this family unit, is going to be Cancer energy, okay? Especially if you guys got initiated in some sort of way where these people feel like family. So this is why Cancer is most likely to end up in these situations or circumstances, because they create the family feel and the family unit through these individuals, okay? This might be a little bit more, maybe of a darker example. Obviously it's not gonna be everybody, but it's like anywhere, okay? It could be at your job, it could be with your friends even. For example, it could be, let's say, the knitting club. You know what I mean? Like, let's say you guys joined some sort of club, okay? You guys created some sort of family feel. It could be a hard time for you guys to part from these people, okay? So that could hold you guys back in life from like new opportunities and just like new energies in general. That's one thing. The other thing is the mother wound, okay? This is a big one. So the Cancer energy, it's like when a person incarnates into a home or a family environment and they have Cancer taking place in their chart, this energy actually needs a little bit more attention from the mother in the home. So it's a struggle, because at this point in time, I guess it's a little bit different, because now people are learning about astrology, and I think also this is how we're going to break free from the astrological energies and structures, but that's just going to have to be a different video for a different day. But up until this point in time, I guess where people were more unaware of this, or like where the energy was a little bit more unconscious, it's like the Cancer individual just needs more of that time with the mother, and for whatever reason, they tend to not get it when they are younger. So they kind of spend their whole lives looking for either the mother figure, the mother role. A lot of the time, it could be even like in other partners, okay, whether it's a feminine energy or masculine, doesn't really matter, because unconsciously this energy is looking to actually be mothered. So a lot of the time, this energy mothers and nurtures other people because they actually want people to do that toward them. Okay, and I'm not a psychologist, that's always one of my disclaimers, but a lot of the time, how we treat others is how we want to be treated, actually, okay? So the energy, if it goes into an excess and they are, you know, really mothering people and they're really kind of like nurturing people and all of these things, it's because unconsciously, and again, I'm not a psychologist, but this is just my own observation, unconsciously what's happening is they want people to be like that toward them, because there's the lack of that energy when they were growing up. So this energy definitely needs a little bit more attention, especially emotional attention from the mother. There's a lot here to do with emotions and feelings, and this energy really tends to get neglected, okay, especially emotionally from a young age, and that can hold you guys back, because then you guys get put into this situation where you're always looking for that energy in another person. You're always looking for that in relationships. Sometimes I find a lot of the time when people are looking for love and like that one true love, they're actually looking for that lack of the love, or lack of the maternal love, or like lack of the love they didn't receive from the mother that they needed, okay? Because maybe the mother showed the love in different ways, for example, but it's the type of love that you may have needed when you were younger, you perhaps didn't receive it. So it tends to put the Cancer energy actually in codependency, okay? That's pretty much what I'm getting at. I feel like codependency for a lot of people is rooted in not having that time with the mother mother that is needed for that particular child, and every person is different, right? And then the mother has to be also very intuitive and in tune to pick up on what each child needs. So I hope that makes sense. So this energy could also hold you guys back because it could put you into toxic situations, or sometimes toxic relationships are always looking for this, or staying again in situations where you're always kind of caregiving others and caregiving people versus maybe even focusing on yourselves. These are a few things that could take place and what could hold a Cancer energy back in life. Next, we have the Leo energy. So what could potentially hold a Leo energy back in life? Well, Leo energy to me really deals with the heart chakra and also the solar plexus at the same time. I hope that makes sense. So the heart chakra, in the sense where it's like they really have that heart of gold, they can really be loyal, they can really be loving in this way, but also the solar plexus where it's like they can fear rejection, they can fear putting themselves out there, they can fear being in these situations where they might in one way, shape, or form appear vulnerable, even though you don't think that that's what it is. That's kind of what's happening energetically behind the scenes with the Leo energy. So it's like the ego, when it comes to the Leo energy, is very, very fragile. And I don't mean that in a shadow sense, like when people are like, oh, that person's ego is fragile. Like, I don't mean it like that. I just mean like this energy is very, very sensitive, and it's very subtle, and it's happening in the background, and it's all connected to their self-worth and their self-esteem. Okay, so when it comes to, let's say, even relationships, because it does deal with love, dating, and relationships, it's like sometimes the smallest thing could take place that affects their self-worth or their self-esteem that might not affect another person. So we're all different at the end of the day, but Leo really, really struggles with this. And I would say this is the biggest thing that holds a Leo energy back in life, is the self-worth, or like the belief in the self, because it deals with the solar plexus in this way. And you guys are actually meant to transmute this energy. I mean, obviously you guys have the free will to do what you want, but I mean, like, if you guys so choose to, right? You're meant to transmute this energy, this whole, you know, belief in the self, or like really tying your self-worth to external validation. So the whole paradox, or like the struggle with the Leo energy, or like the chicken and the egg, and sometimes I like to mention, is like Leo wants to have the crowd right away. Okay, they want to be out there, they want to have the applause because they feed off of that. This energy is definitely extroverted, but they are definitely the type of energy that like wants to get the feedback from the external people, okay, or like the external person or the crowd. So it's like, let's say, you know, they're in a room and there's nobody there, and like there's nobody there to be like, oh my gosh, you're doing a great job, or you did so great, or like there's no applause, there's no crowd. Unless you guys are starting out, maybe you guys are interested in improv or acting, and like, you know, maybe you guys do it for the first time, and maybe there's, let's say, 2 people in the crowd. That's really going to affect the Leo energy self-esteem, okay, or their ego, okay? That's solar plexus chakra. It really affects them because it's like they always connected to them feeling not good enough, for example. But all of that actually roots back to the relationship with the father. And I'm not a psychologist, it's always one of my disclaimers, but the Leo energy, when you guys are more aligned with the Leo energy and the fire signs in general, it's always an energy that is trying to get the attention unconsciously, okay? And again, I'm not a psychologist, but the energy is always trying to unconsciously get the attention of the father, okay? So for Leo, they want to be seen. That's why they're silly and funny and goofy, because maybe that's how they got attention when they were a kid, but ultimately they're looking for the attention of the father, okay? Which is really, really interesting, or lack thereof, okay? So maybe there was a lack of this type of attention from the father. So it's interesting because it's like this energy in the divine version is absolutely able to generate the crowds and the people and the, you know, external attention that they are seeking, but actually subconsciously, and again, I'm not a psychologist, this is just how I've learned it when it comes to astrology, it's like subconsciously they're actually seeking really the attention from the one person, okay, which is the father. So that's really interesting when it comes to the Leo energy, but it's definitely a struggle for these people, especially in the earlier part of whatever it is that they're trying to do. I feel like these people also really get affected when it comes to relationships as well. I find that the energy, again, and when I say sensitive, I don't mean that in a negative sense at all. I mean that energy, for whatever reason, has like turned into this like negative energy when you say someone is sensitive. But this energy is really, really sensitive to putting themselves out there and getting rejected. Like they really internalize rejection. You guys are gonna have to explore why that is. It's different things for different people. And like, again, within a natal chart, you'll see like where the attention is focused for different people. And it just so happens that this is kind of like that shadow aspect of Leo, or again, like I was saying, even in this whole video, it's what holds the energy back. Okay, sometimes they don't put themselves out there because they don't want to be outwardly rejected, or sometimes they start something and there's nobody there. And it's like sometimes you have to do the placebo effect. You know what I mean? You have to keep it going, you have to keep it pushing. Not everybody's gonna start out, there's gonna be a room full of people, okay? That's the important thing to understand. Most people start at 0, okay? Unless you have some sort of connections, or you have somebody pumping the numbers, or you met somebody, or you were born into a certain family that has those types of connections, okay, where it's artificially being pumped. Most everyday regular people are gonna start at 0, and you guys have to be okay with that process of starting at 0 and like having nobody there and keeping it going and keeping it pushing, because it's connected to actually developing the solar plexus chakra, okay? So the more your solar plexus chakra develops, and the more you guys believe in the self and develop the belief in the self, but it's what I mean, it's like chicken and the egg, because you need the people there to confirm that for you. So you guys have to develop that in the beginning within the self, or like do the placebo effect for yourself. Pretend people are there. You know what I mean? The brain actually doesn't know any different is really what it is. And eventually the people will come, okay? They will, because it's just like, that's how energy works, right? It's energy in motion. The more you put your energy energy toward one thing. There's no other, outcome other than for that thing to come into fruition and for that thing to manifest. It's just sometimes it takes a little bit more time. But this energy, again, in the beginning, it could be rocky for them, okay? So they can really struggle with this. They can internalize it a lot. They can feel really affected. And I've noticed this, not just like, let's say, end life and something that they're trying to create for themselves. They really get affected in relationships as well, okay? I will tell you guys that much. I've noticed that with Leo energy as well. Sometimes they can sell themselves short. Sometimes they can even, let's say, settle in relationships. Sometimes they can take whoever, because it's like there's almost like this fear of being rejected by going maybe after the person you guys actually want, or putting yourselves out there in this way. So it's like you guys kind of sometimes dim your own light, I've noticed, okay? So that could also hold the Leo energy back. So this energy is meant to shine, but it's like sometimes the way that I see the signs is like the Wizard of Oz. Do you know what I mean? You know, in the Wizard of Oz, how there was the lion, and the lion actually struggled to be brave, like it was the cowardly lion. I'm not saying this is you guys at all, but it's like that's the way that I see a lot of these signs. It's like whatever the sign represents, you guys might struggle in exactly that area, but you guys could desire it so much, right? So there's a huge desire here to be seen, okay, to be on some sort of stage and to put yourselves out there in this way. So sometimes you just have to start, and sometimes you just have to ignore what's going on the outside, keep it pushing. And sometimes you guys also have to learn how to validate the selves from within, so you guys don't end up in these shadowy situations with people that you guys might not actually be interested in or not into because of this fear of rejection. So these are a few things that could potentially hold a Leo energy back in life. Next, we have Virgo. So if you guys have Virgo energy taking place in your natal chart, let's say you're Virgo stellium, maybe you're Virgo dominant, maybe you guys really resonate with this energy, maybe it's in the personal placements for you guys. Well, what could potentially hold you guys back could be the whole fear of criticism, perfectionism connected to procrastination. I would say that's the biggest thing for this energy, because the whole reason this energy wants to be perfect is because of their fear of criticism. Now the thing is, you guys have to explore. I'm not a psychologist, as always my disclaimer, but you guys would have to explore and see where is the criticism coming from. Now astrology is always going to give us clues, okay? So if it's in the sun, it's going to be the father. If it's in the moon, it'll be the mother or the home overall. If the roles are reversed, you can look at that particular pairing. So if you have any of these energies taking place in your natal chart, you will definitely fear criticism, and then it'll be connected to perfectionism because you guys are trying to be perfect so people can't actually criticize you, and then all of that is connected to procrastination. So you guys might procrastinate, you guys might not actually, do the particular thing you guys want to do. You guys might do something and then edit it 50,000 times because of the fact that it's not perfect, and you guys might not actually put it out there, okay? So that's the whole struggle with the Virgo energy, or like you can look at it as like the paradox even with the Virgo energy. It's like you guys do something and it's like that you guys feel like you have to edit it, or you guys feel like you have to do it again and again, or fix it and fix it and fix it, and it's like you guys fix it so many times that you guys don't even end up putting it out there. I actually know a story of an individual, and this person basically was in this type of situation where they had this great idea, and this is actually a real story. It's somebody that I know through another person. So they had this great idea, and they were ahead of their time with their idea, and like they came up with it, and they were like fixing it. They never put it out there. Boom, another person came up with the same idea, and that person made a lot of money on that same idea, and they didn't know each other, right? Because the thing is also with ideas, they're like floating around in the astral, and they basically float around in the astral until the person catches them who wants to act on them. So sometimes you're given the gift of the idea before other people. The way the universe works, it's like if there's something that needs to be put out there, if you're not going to act on it, you're going to procrastinate on it, you're not going to do anything about it, it's actually going to be passed down to the next person. So nothing's actually ever yours, but that's a different conversation for a different day, okay? Because this earth plane is very much connected to the ego, and everyone wants to, patent everything and trademark everything and copyright everything. And I mean, that's the world that we're living in. It is what it is, right? But it's like nothing is actually ever yours, because these ideas just kind of keep floating around in the astral, depending on the person who gets the idea. Okay, if you're a little bit more open in terms of the crown chakra, you'll get the idea, and then if you don't act on it, it gets passed on to the next person and then the next person. So I'm sure you guys get the idea here. And that's kind of how it works, where it's like you're gonna have two people on like completely opposite ends of the world, maybe completely different upbringings, all of these things. They might come up with the exact same idea, okay? Because that's just how it works. The astral is the astral at the end of the day. So I would say that's the ultimate struggle with this energy, is the struggle for perfectionism and fears and worries around criticism, and really breaking free from this, okay? Because that could really hold you guys back in all of the ways that I have explained earlier. The other thing with this energy is also their need for routine, okay? So Virgo thrives on routine, and all of these traits, by the way, I've been saying this for the other signs as well. It's like all of these traits you guys can turn around and twist into a positive thing, okay? Absolutely, all of them can be positive. But the thing is, they can also go into the shadow of the energy as well. So with the Virgo energy, the whole struggle here is really the whole concept of routine, but in the shadow sense, where it's like it's too much of a routine, where it's like you guys are always doing the same thing and no new energies can come in if you're just like stuck in the same energy. And like personally, Personally, I believe that this is also eventually how, you know, the shadow energy manifests, where you get bored with life. Sometimes just switching up one thing in your routine, like doing one different thing after work, is going to switch the energy up for you, and it's going to invite new energies into your life. It'll keep things new and fresh and exciting. And this is how you guys perhaps will meet people that are meant to connect you to other, you know, aspects of your life or other opportunities and these types of things. Okay, so I would say these are the main things here for the Virgo energy in terms of what could potentially hold a Virgo energy back in life. If you have Libra energy taking place in your chart, maybe you're a Libra stellium, maybe you're a Libra dominant, maybe you really resonate with the energy, maybe it's in your personal placements and it really stands out in your natal chart. Well, the energies here that could hold you guys back in life definitely are going to be anything to do with relationships, but in the shadow. Okay, so what I've been saying for all of these signs is like all of these energies could be twisted into the positive sense. Yes, like that's always there, the divine version, but they can also go into the shadow version. So with Libra energy, when it comes to relationships are always their focus. So this energy could struggle to be alone. They could struggle to be on their own. Sometimes they might settle, okay? Because this energy is all about love, yes, but they're always looking for that one true love, okay? Not like a Pisces type of one true love, but like somebody to complete them. That's kind of how it is with the Libra energy. And it's not always going to be in terms of, let's say, romantic relationships. It could also be in friendships as well. So the extreme shadow of the Libra energy is kind of like a puppy dog, okay? Chasing after everybody, running after everybody, not focusing on themselves. They can really go into the energy of being overly focused on other people and not focusing on themselves. Okay, so like the relationships could potentially be a distraction from the self, which is like all the energies are meant to eventually come into the balance with their oppositional energy. Hope that makes sense. So Libra is actually meant to learn from Aries, which is to learn about individuality and being the self and being okay with being on your own. It doesn't have to be either one or the other. It doesn't mean you can't be in relationships, but sometimes you need to be in that phase where you are on your own, where you're okay with being on your own, so you guys can have those healthy types of relationships, and so you're not focused or like overly focused on other people with the fear of being on your own or the fear of being alone to the point where it's like it consumes you guys and like you guys aren't focused on anything else. You're not focused on, you know, whatever other goals you guys might have in life. The thing is, like the Libra energy also, because sometimes their identity can really be created through relationships, they can kind of do whatever the partner is doing. So they can also lose a sense of self, especially let's say if you have a Libra sun or Libra rising even, you know, they can really lose the sense of self through relationships. Like a lot of the identity is going to be created through relationships. So I talked about this for one of the other signs. It's all about like the ego is really what it is. So it's like sometimes when that person is not in your life anymore, like you go through this huge ego death, okay? Or whatever you've created your identity around, okay? For the Libra energy is going to be through relationships, okay? So I would say that's the biggest thing, because, you know, if the wound is there, okay, the wound of like, you know, the fear of being alone, or like, let's say this is just a fear you guys have, maybe it's not a wound, like how it manifests for you guys, okay? It's like if you guys had this taking place, you guys are going to overly focus on other people. You're not going to be able to focus on anything else. You guys might not have any identity outside of the people who are around you, okay? Because the Libra energy is who the people are around them, which is fine, right? Libra is ultimately looking for balance, okay? That's the most important thing to understand here. So they're always trying to figure out balance in their lives, and it's like a struggle, because it's like, again, if they really go into the shadow, they'll go into the shadow of the Aries, and this energy can be actually very, very chaotic, or like they might literally feel lost, okay, if they are not in relationships or something of the sort. So that's the biggest thing I would say for Libra. It's the whole concept of codependency, fear of being alone, fear of being on your own, chasing after people, you know, doing what everybody else wants to do, not having an identity outside of that, not having your own personality, sometimes wanting to be chosen. I'm gonna say that's also, you know, the struggle with the Libra energy. Out of all the signs, okay, maybe people have degrees of this within themselves because that's just how the structure has been up until this point in time. It's a dog-eat-dog structure, but Libra will find themselves in a lot of these situations where they do want to be chosen, okay? This can manifest in different areas of your lives. It doesn't just have to be romantic relationships. It could be in friendships. Like Libras always end up in these dynamics where it's like there's a third party, okay? Whether it's another friend, like a trio, you know, group, or let's say a third party type of situation or relationship or something of that sort. So that's something you guys have to explore for yourselves to see where this is rooting from, why it's coming up. Maybe it has something to do with, this is just my opinion, I'm not a psychologist, okay? That's always my disclaimer, but maybe it has something to do with the parents and you guys always juggling the parents, or maybe one of the parents, their attention was, you know, taken away from you by another thing, or like an external quote unquote third party thing. Maybe it was their job, maybe it was some other stress they had in their life, you know? So that's the whole thing here with the Libra energy. So it's all about exploring the self so you guys can come into your full self alignment, and the whole point of this video is to see what holds you guys back in life from potentially getting to where it is that you guys are trying to go. So these are a few things that could take place for the Libra energy and what could hold them back in life. Next, we have Scorpio. So what could potentially hold a Scorpio individual back in life? I mean, the Scorpio energy, I would say the biggest thing what could hold a Scorpio energy back in life is their struggle to let go. That's my own opinion. I'm sure you guys might come up with other things as well. I mean, there's a whole revenge factor with Scorpio as well, where where it's like they can really struggle when it comes to revenge, especially if someone has done them wrong and they're in the lower version of Scorpio, that is. Okay, obviously we have the whole evolutionary journey of the Scorpionic energy, but when this energy is in the shadow and they are in the lower versions of themselves, this energy could absolutely struggle with, yes, letting go in terms of like people, situations. Let's say it's a grudge. Let's say someone has done you guys wrong. That's gonna be the biggest thing, I would say. And it's like, if you guys are in the shadow of the energy, you guys might plot revenge. How you guys can get back at this person, you know, to execute your revenge. And that can take a lot of time. It can take a lot of time. It can take a lot of energy. More than anything, it can take a lot of energy. And I mean, if you guys have the time on your hands, you know, that's up to you guys. But the whole point of this video is like, what is holding you guys back in life? Maybe you guys have some sort of goal in mind or dream or ambition. And we are on a clock down here. We're ruled by Saturn and we're ruled by Capricorn. We're ruled by time. Okay. So it's like, we're putting all your time and your energy in the wrong places. You're just wasting it, is the way that I see it. And it's like, in the divine version, you know, this energy is just going to believe in karma. They're going to be like, you know what? Karma or God, the creator of the universe, like whatever you guys believe in, is going to do the job for that person. Okay. If someone has done you wrong or done you dirty or something of this sort. So that's kind of like the ultimate divine version, I would say, of a Scorpionic individual. But yes, the shadow, they can really go on this war path and this vengeance path. No one's going to expect it. They're going to sit and plot and think about it to get back at that person. It's the stinger, is really what it is. And ultimately, it's just wasting time and energy and your own resources. That's the way that I see it. So that's one of the things that could hold a Scorpionic person back in life. It could definitely be their struggle overall to let go. So let's say you guys really like where you live. And a lot of this is connected to you guys seeing everything as an extension of yourselves. Okay. So because you have the Scorpio energy in your chart, you guys deal with the possessive energy. So let's say you guys live in a certain space. It's like you spend so much time there that this particular space becomes an extension of you, and also boundaries. Okay. So the Scorpio energy also struggles with boundaries as well. So it's like, because the energy struggles with boundaries, you guys struggle to differentiate between the space that you're living in, for example, and yourselves. So because the nature of the Scorpio energy is possessive, you guys create this identity around this particular thing. You don't want to quote unquote lose it. Okay. Because ultimately Scorpio does fear abandonment. Okay. There's a huge fear of abandonment here. I'm kind of giving the example of a space, you know, let's say a living space, but it could also be, let's say, a partner or a friend, or let's say your job. You know what I mean? So this energy, again, in the shadow of the energy, after you guys go through a certain amount of deaths in reverse, you guys are going to be able to do it before the other person says hello. You know what I mean? You're like, nope, done. But in the earlier part of your lives, or again, up until you guys get to that point, everybody is at a different point in their journey. You guys are going to struggle with letting go because of this energy, where things become kind of like an extension of yourself, especially when it comes to relationships. You guys merge so much, okay, into the other person, into the other situation, circumstance, job, living situation, you know, the place you live, all of these things. So that, I would say, holds this energy back in life, because again, it's like the possessiveness. You guys really want to hold on to these particular things. Now I will say, you guys are done, you're done, right? So especially if it deals with betrayal or anything of that sort, I would say that's the biggest one, or disrespect. Okay, there's the energy of that as well. If that takes place in a certain situation, like those people are cut off immediately and it's done. Okay, but with Scorpio energy, and maybe I'll have to do a different video for this on a different day, but it's like with the Scorpio energy, it's like this energy can, especially like if they have merged to a person, they can really go into the energy of like a ride or die. Like they do deal with loyalty in that way. So it's like, even like in the beginning, if they have an inkling something is wrong, like they might kind of hope that they're wrong, for example, or just like kind of give the person the benefit of the doubt. Depends on what point in your journey you guys are on. But until like the proof is like blatant in your face, sometimes you guys stick around, okay, in these types of situations, and sometimes they can turn toxic. I will say that much. And that's sometimes the inability of the Scorpio person to let go of that person, the situation, sometimes not seeing it for what it is. Sometimes they need the proof, you know what I mean? Because intuition is one thing, but sometimes, especially if they're underdeveloped and they haven't really gone to the point where they really trust their intuition, or again, sometimes it deals with self-worth, self-esteem. It depends, you know what I mean? It's like every person is different at a different point in their journey. But with that being said, is like they can really get to the point where situations can get really toxic for them because of this loyalty factor, and because again, sometimes they don't have the proof yet. But if it's like obvious to them, you know, they really have the proof to confirm their intuition, that's when it's done, and they cut the other person off. So I would say those are the biggest things what could hold a Scorpio individual back in life. And the whole reason I find it holds them back is because it wastes a lot of their energy, and it wastes a lot of their time when they could be putting that energy towards something. Because this energy, when it's in the divine version, it has so much potential for manifestation, you guys. Like if you guys are able to focus your energy on that one particular thing and not waste it on all of these like side quests and just like the abandonment wound. Okay, sometimes the wound is stronger than a desire, but sometimes in life you have to make the desire stronger than the wound. Okay, that's the way that I see it. Those are the people who do ultimately succeed. And again, you guys have the potential. That's why you incarnate with that energy in your natal chart to get to that point. Okay, so these are a few things that can take place in terms of what could hold a Scorpio individual back in life. What could potentially hold a Sagittarius individual back in life? Well, again, you know, you guys want to look and see, do you have a Sag stellium? Do you guys have maybe Sag dominant in your chart. Maybe you guys really resonate with the energy. Maybe it's in your personal placements, okay? So regardless of where you guys have it in your chart, what could potentially hold a Sagittarius person back in life? Honestly, a lot of these traits, you guys can kind of twist them into positive traits as well. Depends what the end goal is here, but if you guys have some sort of goal or dream or desire you guys want to create down here on this earth plane for yourselves, you know, some of these traits can go into the shadow, okay? So for example, you know, the whole need for freedom and adrenaline and like really living in the moment, okay? So this energy, a lot of the time, because it's such a spiritual energy, feels like they are being led by something higher and greater, and they're always looking for the purpose, right? It's very much that eat, pray, love type of energy. Like, what is the purpose of life? What is my purpose? Why are we here? You know, they're really going on some sort of quest, okay? So as soon as this energy exits the womb, they're on some sort of quest to understand, like, what is the point of everything? Like, why are we doing this, okay? That is the nature of the energy. You know, the Sag energy deals with religions, philosophies, you know, esoterica, mysticism, like this whole spiritual world, okay? So Sag goes on this quest basically from day one, okay? So that's the nature of the energy. But the thing is, again, you know, because it's a spiritual energy, even if you look at the centaur, you know, is shooting that arrow up into the clouds. This energy can very much be up in the clouds, okay? That could be a huge struggle, because the thing is, you can have your energy in the chart, but then you also have the energy of the earth plane, right? So if you're trying to create something down here, you have to learn the energy of the earth plane. It just is what it is. So with that being said, this energy is off in the ethers, up in the clouds. They can really struggle to ground maybe the idea that they have or the vision or just like themselves, okay? Because again, it's all about fun and movement and the next high. That could be a huge struggle for this energy, okay? Because it's like a lot of the time, anytime you guys get that high, I'm sure maybe it's connected to dopamine, and again, I'm not a medical practitioner either, okay? That's always my disclaimer, but it's like, you know, it's a struggle, because it's like the more that you get, you know, the hit of that high from whatever it is that you guys are doing, it's like the more intense the next thing has to be. I really, really hope that makes sense. So this energy really can go into hedonist. I'm sure you guys know that, but it could hold you guys back in life is really what it is, because you guys could struggle to be rooted in one place or grounded in one place, or you're catching the next flight, or you're going here, you're going there, you're everywhere, but you're not really grounded anywhere at the same time. And because of this energy too, you guys could also burn a lot of bridges. You guys could drop a lot of friends too, because you're like, this person doesn't serve me anymore. And it's like, it's fine. Sometimes they don't. But it's like at the same time, throughout life, you guys might see that you guys dropped all these people because it's like, you know, you felt like they weren't serving you for whatever reason, which I understand. Again, if it's in the shadow and they're just like shady people, that I completely get. But I mean, like, really, this energy cuts cords with a lot of people. They burn a lot of bridges sometimes because, again, they feel like they're being led by something higher and greater. So the older this energy gets, I mean, this happens in everybody's charts in terms of the secondary progressions. It's like the energy kind of had their fun, you know, they went on all these adventures and they kind of move into Capricorn, which is ultimately what this energy is meant to learn, okay? They're meant to learn about discipline, and also that's the earth plane as well, especially if you have some sort of goal in mind. I mean, if you don't, that's fine. You know, you guys can continue doing all of these fun things, right? It's a very fun energy, you know, but it's like if you have some sort of goal in mind, you have to learn the earth plane, and you have to learn the earth plane's energy. Sag as an energy is always interesting to me because it comes out of Scorpio, so they're looking for that power and control kind of like in the background. Like, it's not something that's like overt with them, but they're not at Capricorn yet, okay? They want the freedom, so they might want to do entrepreneurship or just like the freedom, let's say, of, you know, financial freedom, all these things, but they might not be disciplined in terms of learning from Capricorn yet, right? Or like grounded to actually anchor this for themselves. They might kind of, you know, believe in the laws of the universe, which are true, right, in the higher realms, but we are restricted by Saturn down here, and it's a Saturnian plane, okay? So you have to sit down, you have to learn the energies. Of course, we have Virgo here and we have Taurus. We have all the earth energies. That's why they are the earth energies, because they are the energies that thrive down here at this point in time. So that's the thing with Sag. And what can hold them back in life is their lack of discipline. They can be very mutable, change their mind. You know, they're always looking for that next high. They're always looking for stimulation as well, which again, all these traits could absolutely be positive traits as well. I'm just talking about in the sense where it's like, if you're not getting to where it is that you're trying to go, and you know, this could potentially be holding you guys back. So it's like a matter of just like learning the earth's energies and seeing how your energy could vibe with that. Again, this energy can be very extreme as well. So, you know, you guys can, again, be looking for that high, like I mentioned earlier, through adrenaline types of things. So like they can go into extreme sports or like bungee jumping out of a plane or all of these things, which is like, it's fine, but sometimes they can kind of be in dangerous situations. So just keep this in mind for this energy. So these are a few things that could hold a Sagittarius energy back in life. What could potentially hold a Capricorn energy back in life? I mean, for Capricorn, it's really hard to say, because I feel like this energy thrives down here on this earth plane, especially when it comes to going after their goals, dreams, and desires. But what I will say, if I had to pick something in terms of what could hold this energy back in life, it could be, I mean, it depends like what way we look at it, okay? Because in terms of this video, I'm kind of looking at it from the lens of going after your dreams and getting your goals and all of these things. But I mean, let's say, you know, that maybe isn't the focus. Maybe they could be quote unquote held back in the sense where it's like they don't focus, let's say, on friendships. Maybe they're working all the time and they don't, let's say, go out, and maybe they don't have fun. Maybe that holds them back in life because maybe they're too serious all the time. And again, I've been saying this for a lot of the other signs as well. A lot of these traits can be very positive traits as well. in this video, we're kind of looking at them in terms of how it can hold you guys back in life. So in terms of like dreams and goals and desires, which was the initial intention of this video, yes, Capricorn can absolutely thrive down here on this earth plane, because again, they have the discipline, they have the structure, they're willing to learn from other people, they sit down and they work. If I had to pick certain traits that could quote unquote hold them back, sometimes it could be the whole concept of them maybe getting burnt out. Okay, sometimes the Saturn energy or Capricorn can deal with depression. Not a psychologist, that's always one of my disclaimers, but I mean, maybe you guys might get depressed, maybe you guys might get down, maybe you guys might feel bad about yourselves because you're not where you want to be yet. Okay, so I mean, it could be this as well with the Capricorn energy. That could be the overall struggle. But it's like, it's important to understand if you guys have Capricorn in your charts, and I mean, this is going to apply to everybody down here on this earth plane, because basically we are operated by Saturn down here, in my own opinion, allegedly, of course. So because it is a Saturnian structure, you guys thrive down here, yes, but it's like nobody actually starts to get to like the success, let's say, of their career, which is that 10th house, or it's like success in life, until after the age of 35. Okay, so that's another inversion down here on this earth plane, where like they kind of put all these young people in our faces that are basically plants. Okay, because if we look at natal charts, the actual ultimate success comes after the age of 35, which is when Saturn matures. Okay, so whatever you guys are working toward, that's when you guys will see your rewards, or like the fruits of your labor. Okay, so in one way, shape, or form, the Capricorn energy has this awareness, is really what it is. They have the grit energy. They're going to keep pushing toward that particular thing. The energy does not give up. You guys might feel down, you guys might feel burnt out, you guys might, you know, feel really upset that you're not there yet. Okay, but there's almost like this part of you guys that has this like knowingness, or this awareness that ultimately you guys will get to where it is that you're trying to go. Out of all the signs, the Capricorn energy has that grit energy. Okay, and I talk about this a lot. You can see within a person when they're going to quote unquote make it in this life. I mean, I guess different people have different definitions of that, but I mean, like, you know, achieve whatever goal they have in mind. You'll see that within a person. Okay, and you know, a lot of the time, not a lot of people have grit. Okay, so grit is a type of energy where it's like, no matter how many times you get knocked down, and you guys are going to get knocked down a lot. Okay, if you have Capricorn in your chart, no matter how many times you guys get knocked down, you guys get right back up. Okay, you guys might take breaks, you guys might be frustrated, but it's like, because you guys have the goal in mind, it just gives you guys almost like more of this fuel. Okay, more of this power to keep pushing toward that particular thing, and then ultimately Saturn rewards you guys. Okay, that's how Saturn works down here on this earth plane. Okay, you guys kind of are getting a little bit of insider information. You guys might already have this awareness, or just like this knowingness unconsciously, but it's like, that's just the way that it is down here. So I would say what holds you guys back in life, I mean, it's really hard to say. Okay, because this energy is going to keep pushing, they're going to keep it going. If we look at it, you know, from a different lens, in terms of maybe having fun, maybe you guys could get held back from having fun, for example, or maybe some of you guys might not, let's say, be interested in creating a family, but that's just the nature of the energy. Like, this energy really wants the stability, they want the status, they want the money, they want the wealth before they engage in any of these things. Okay, this energy is definitely the type of energy that's going to put friendships aside, or doing fun things aside, okay, to focus on their goal, especially when they have a goal in mind. Maybe it's different if you guys don't have the goal in mind, but like when you guys have that vision and the vision is clear, you guys are going to focus on that particular thing. So these are potentially some things here that could hold you guys back in life. I would say more so when it comes to, let's say, personal life versus work and career, because in the area of work and career, because you have Capricorn in your chart, you guys are definitely going to keep it pushing and keep it going. Okay, you guys are going to be focusing on the goal and working toward that. So these are a few things that can take place for the Capricorn energy. If you guys have Aquarius energy taking place in your natal chart, what could potentially hold you guys back in life from getting to where it is that you guys are trying to go? Now, what I find really interesting about Aquarius is that they consider Aquarius to be a fixed sign, but Aquarius is ruled by Uranus at the end of the day. It used to be ruled by Saturn, currently ruled by Uranus. So there is this unpredictable energy connected to Aquarius where they can kind of switch up sometimes at the last moment, really depending on what is going on. Okay, so the energy can quote unquote be unstable in this way. And when I talk about unstable, I don't mean that they are unstable as a person or as an individual, although it could be. I just mean unstable in the sense where it's like they could switch up. So I find it interesting that it's a fixed sign, but I mean, I guess they had to assign a fixed sign to one of the air signs, you know what I mean? But that's kind of like the thing here. So the energy is ruled by Uranus. They can be very unpredictable. They can kind of be very unexpected. They can switch up at the last minute. It's kind of like the energy where it's like if people start to put you in a box, you guys switch up on them. So sometimes this could hold you guys back in life because it's like you guys could struggle to be anchored in whatever it is that you guys want to do, or like it could kind of go into like the ego sense, or like the shadow ego, where it's like, oh no, I don't want you to think that I'm doing that. And it's also interesting because the energy of Aquarius also deals with rebellion. So I find it interesting because I find that because of the Saturn rulership in Aquarius, okay, and that's the ancient rulership, the rebellion energy comes from rebelling against the status quo, yes, but also sometimes rebelling against authority. And even ultimately, it always comes back down to rebelling against the parents. So with this energy, I find as soon as somebody says something, so let's say you guys wanted to do something today, like let's say you guys wanted to go to a coffee shop, and let's say somebody else says to you, oh, you should go to a coffee shop. Ego kicks in. I'm not going to the coffee shop because it was their idea, even though it was originally yours. You know what I'm trying to say here? So it's like if you guys feel like someone's telling you what to do or creating creating a plan for you or saying, you should do it like this. Like you guys are going to rebel against that. And this energy can be very extreme in the shadow because sometimes they can even rebel against themselves. So this energy really needs to learn how to not put like themselves into like restrictive types of energies. But I find that the rebellion against the self actually comes up more when it's like there's another person involved. So for example, let's say you guys said, in your mind today, oh, I'm gonna, start going to the gym. And let's say you said it to your friend and your friend just asks you about it and you guys like don't want it to be their idea. You guys want it to be your own idea. Like the ego kicks in, you want to rebel against the other person, even though ultimately you're rebelling against yourself. This is really extreme, and this is kind of like the extreme shadow of the Aquarius energy, and this could hold you guys back in life. So you guys might have to learn this about yourselves and not say things to people. Let's say you have a goal or like a plan in mind, because as soon as, let's say, they kind of make it seem like it was their idea, you guys might want to rebel against that energy, and it could really go into the shadow in the sense it's very subtle, it's very covert, it's very much happening behind the scenes. You guys might not even be aware that this is taking place, and this is why it's important to learn the self. You just don't tell people what you're going to do or like mention it or something of that sort, where it's like they can kind of say it as if it was their idea, or it seems like it was, maybe subconsciously or unconsciously. So the energy could go in this direction. Absolutely, that could hold you guys back in life, because again, it could waste your time instead of doing that particular thing when you guys wanted to do it. You guys might do it at a later date and so on and so forth. So I'm sure you guys get the idea there. So that's one of the things that could quote unquote hold the Aquarius energy back. Also, their need for individuality. I feel like all of this ties back down to the ego. Keep in mind, you guys, Aquarius bounces off of Leo, okay? So both of the energies, like the oppositional energies, always share something in common. That Aquarius energy can really deal with the ego sometimes, okay? It might be very, very covert and it could be happening in the background, but the energy could be taking place there to the point where it's like, you guys might want to shock people, right? And this is why, when you said something to somebody, you guys might not want to do it at that point in time. You want it to come up at a different time. So it's like a shock. The shock factor is there, okay? And again, this could be so subtle and happening in the background. You guys might not even be aware that you're doing this. It might not be something you guys consciously do, but it could be something that holds you guys back. This energy absolutely could be stubborn, like all of the fixed energies. Although again, their stubbornness comes back down to their individuality and like their need to express their individuality. So sometimes this energy in the shadow could be too individualistic, okay? And that could hold you guys back, because again, you guys might not want to be within the group. You guys might not want to work within a group overall, which is fine, right? Like this energy very much is, yes, the trendsetter, but once the rest of the group is doing it, you guys might want to drop that particular thing, because you always want to be separate from the group, and that's fine. But keep in mind, there's still the Saturn rulership of Aquarius, right? And this earth plane, in my opinion, is ruled by Saturn. So with that being said, we always have to look at the earth's energies and see how the earth is, thriving down here, what works down here in this earth realm, and how can you fit your energy into the earth's energy. So sometimes putting the time into something to perfect something, to perfect some sort of craft, which is the Virgo energy as well, focusing on that particular thing, you'll get a better outcome in the end, versus always switching up on people, especially when something becomes a trend. So maybe that could potentially hold you guys back. I mean, it depends what way you guys look at it. I'm kind of giving just a few different examples here as to what could potentially hold you guys back. So it could be this as well. I find the biggest thing connected to the Aquarius energy is just like the ego that could hold you guys back, where it's like you guys always want to have that shock factor going on, and it's like sometimes you guys will drop what you guys were doing or working on because you still want there to be a shock factor. Basically, this energy wants to be unpredictable. So these are a few things that can take place for the Aquarius energy in terms of what could hold them back in life. Next, we have Pisces. So if you guys have Pisces energy taking place in your chart, some things that could potentially hold you guys back in life. I mean, when it comes to Pisces, the energy deals with unconditional love, forgiveness. Sometimes they struggle with boundaries, and sometimes they can definitely be up in the clouds. This energy, out of all the energies, I would say really struggles down here on this earth plane. The way that I see this earth plane at this point in time, when I am recording this in 2025, we are operated by the Saturnian structure. So everything within Saturn is kind of what's taking place down here. And then we have Neptune, which rules Pisces, and that's outside of Saturn, is really what it is. It's interesting that it used to be ruled by Jupiter, okay, which is technically within the Saturnian structure, but overall it's very Neptunian. The energy, I find, especially when I hook into it, feels very Neptune to me when it comes to Pisces. So it's a struggle for this energy, because it's like, first of all, it's Neptune, so it's outside of Saturn. Second of all, you're basically in opposition to the Earth's energies, because you guys are oppositional to Virgo, okay? And all of these energies are meant to eventually balance somewhere in the middle. They always bounce off of their oppositional energy, but it's definitely a struggle, because when it comes to the Virgo energy, it's very much about the day-to-day, the mundane, perfecting something, focusing on something for an extended period of time until you perfect that particular thing. Then we have Pisces. Pisces is free-flowing, okay? They want to go with the flow. They want to wake up here today and then go somewhere else tomorrow, okay? It also deals with foreign lands, especially if we look at it in terms of the 12th house, but I mean even Jupiter back in the day. It's like the energy wants to have the freedom to do whatever it is that they want to do when they want to do it. They want to go with the flow. They want to go with the vibes. How are they feeling today? That's amazing, but the energy struggles down here on this earth plane, because the earth plane is not structured in this way. It's also a feminine energy, and we're operated out of the shadow masculine energy down here again at this point in time. So it's a struggle, okay? Because the energy also deals with feelings, it deals with emotions, it deals with intuition, it deals with psychic energy. So this energy could struggle to be grounded, okay? This energy might not even know that they're psychic. They might not even know how to channel that, or what to do with that energy, or how to sometimes monetize it, okay? Sometimes the energy is the type of energy that's like very much wanting to do things for for free. They can go into the martyr type of energy or sometimes the Messiah. It depends whether it's kind of manifesting through a masculine or a feminine. I find that a lot of the time people who operate out of the shadow feminine, okay, when it comes to spirituality, they go into the martyr of the energy. Or if it's a masculine and they're operating out of the shadow, let's say of the Pisces, okay, they are going to go into like the Messiah. They think they're the Messiah here to basically save everybody. And honestly, it doesn't matter what gender you were born into. You might actually have both polarities taking place within one person as well, right? If they're kind of balanced in their energies. Anyways, so all of these things could hold a Pisces person back in life because they are here to complete some sort of spiritual mission. They're highly spiritual, they're highly perceptive, they see through the veil, they see through everybody, but at the same time, they're very forgiving. They understand where people are coming from. That could also hold them back in life because Pisces can sometimes end up in toxic situations longer than they should. They can end up sometimes with really toxic people as well because they see the person's potential, okay, and that could hold them back. The energy could get siphoned here, okay, through these toxic dynamics. They might be, let's say, in a savior complex, wanting to save, let's say, somebody that they're dating, or let's say it's a friend or whoever, okay, and that could hold them back in life because it's like it could be overly focused on other people versus themselves. So it's a struggle. This energy is definitely a challenge down here on this earth plane. A lot of the time, Pisces energy struggle with addictions, okay, they struggle with, let's say, alcoholism, sometimes substances, substance abuse, all of these things, and that's just my own opinion. I've even heard in astrology, like the way that they teach it, that Pisces can struggle with food as well, okay, they might not even see themselves clearly depending where you guys have it. Let's say you have it in the sun or the rising, or maybe you have Neptune aspect in the sun or the rising, so they can struggle with food, like, you know, not seeing themselves clearly. So like the weight sometimes fluctuates for this energy as well. I mean, there's honestly so much to say for the Pisces energy, but I'd say these are the main things that hold this energy back in life. It's the over focus on other people or saving people. Sometimes if it's in the extreme, like trying to save the world versus focusing on some sort of goal that they might have, again, which is the Earth's energies down here. Sometimes, you know, they're very spiritual. They could go into the shadow of the crown chakra. They might not know how to ground this information. And again, you know, they could repress it. Let's say they incarnate into a religious family. So honestly, there's just so much to say for this energy. And same thing, like let's say they have some sort of goal or dream in mind, like they have such a strong third eye chakra, such strong visualization, but they don't know where to start. They could get overwhelmed. They might want to do too much. They might want to do everything, for example, and then nothing gets done. So all of these things could very much be a struggle for the Pisces energy. I mean, honestly, you guys have the free will to do what you want. My recommendation would be learn from Virgo, okay? Focus on one thing, perfect the craft before you move on to the next thing. Figure out how you guys can ground this knowledge, you know, the information that you guys have, you know, and focusing on perfecting some sort of craft, okay? And seeing that through until the end before you start something else, before you guys move on to the next thing. If you guys do have, let's say, some sort of goal or dream or desire in mind, okay? Because the thing is, this energy has so much potential because they have such a strong third eye chakra, like such strong visualization, but they don't know where to go. They don't know how to start sometimes. They unconsciously, a lot of the time, this energy is looking to be led by somebody else. And it's such a struggle because they tend to give their power away to other people. And then they tend to get used as a battery pack for that person's dreams, goals, desires. It doesn't have to just be in a romantic relationship, although it could be in a friendship. It could be a manager, let's say someone who sees, you know, your manifestation potential and then they sign you, let's say, to a label or to whatever, some sort of contract that you guys might have to do, and you guys get excited and you guys give them more of the royalties, you know, let's say you guys only get 30%, they get 70% or something of this sort. And it's a struggle because it's like in the divine version, let's say if it was a perfect world, it would be amazing because this energy works great in a team and that's where the energy thrives. But this earth plane at this point in time, unfortunately, is filled with a lot of energy vampires, narcissists, and opportunists, and they sometimes see that within the Piscean individual and they kind of grasp that energy, like they kind of harness your energy to create for them, okay? So that's the extreme shadow, or like the extreme shadow manifestation of this energy. So just keep this in mind because this could be another thing that holds you guys back overall in life from achieving what it is that you guys might want for yourselves, or you guys might not even know what you want for yourselves because people are always projecting onto you basically from birth, okay, what they want, and you're always merging to their energy. So taking a lot of time to be on your own, learning yourselves, learning what are your likes, wants, needs, and desires, what are your triggers, wounds, all of these things, so you guys can kind of get to where it is you guys are trying to go for yourselves, so you're not creating and manifesting for others, okay? So these are a few things that can take place for the Pisces energy and what could potentially hold them back in life. So my dear friends, I'm going to wrap up this video here. I do hope you guys enjoyed my video on what could potentially hold all of the signs back in life. If you did, please do like, share, and subscribe, and I hope you all have a beautiful rest of the day.